Genshin has introduced a brand new set of reactions with Stellar Conduct being introduced in this version 6.7, and Stellar Swirl dropping in version 7.0, bringing in a new set of mechanics and style of play that will set the tone for what's to come in Snezhnaya, similar to what Lunar Reactions did for Not Cry. And that got me thinking and got me wanting to do something that's a little bit of fun. I thought of going over the last 6 years and seeing generally how much of a power creep has been present and how much the percentage jump has been year on year. Thanks to the wonderful Miliastra Wonderland, we have some nice PvP dummy events that allows us to test the DPS of characters and provides us with a tool to easily note down and compare the numbers. Now you might be asking, well, what teams are you going to use, Gale? Well, to just make it simple and for a more personal touch, I decided that while I do have some characters that arguably were better in that era compared to the teams that I actually ran in that era, I wanted to run teams that I actively used in Spiral Abyss towards the end of a patch cycle. So, for example, for year 1, I'm going to be running 2 teams that I used in version 1.6's Spiral Abyss. For year 2, the teams that I ran in version 2.8 Spiral Abyss is the teams I'm going to be using, and so on. That way, it's very straightforward, and I believe it's a more accurate representation of how players were building teams back then and how people have improved and or were able to get resources more easily to be able to build more complete teams. Each team in this video will be given 2 60-second attempts to record their DPS, as to be honest, I'm not a upper echelon Genshin Impact combat player. I'd like to think of myself as average or slightly above average. You know, I tend to regularly record 36 stars in Abyss, clear IT first try with a couple of stars, and I can do Menacing or Fearless depending on the situation in Stygian Onslaught, but I'm definitely not somebody who's like super cracked when it comes to combat. You know, I'm not somebody who does Dire or anything of that sort or get max stars in IT. So to give each team their fair shot at scoring, they'll get those 2 attempts. And if you want to see more content like this, lore videos, theories, and much more for Genshin Impact, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. That helps me out massively in the algorithm and allows you guys to get notified as to when I upload a video as well. And with Snezhnaya only a few days away, you do not want to miss the content. And now, without further ado, let's check out the first team that we're going to be using today.
All hail! Blaze over!
First team we're going to be testing is the first ever team I built in Genshin Impact, and that is Ganyu, Venti, Barbara, and Xiangling. Now, frankly speaking, this isn't a great team. I'll be honest and say I could probably have done a better job with this team. I think there's a couple of better options, to be honest, that you could run here. But I feel like just generally with what I had and what I was running with at the time, this was my best team, to be honest. In fact, I would say if I actually had realized at the time of how much of an improvement Kazuha was, especially going into Inazuma, I would have summoned for him. I didn't summon for Kazuha at the time, so that's why Venti is still on the scene come the end of version 1.6. But anyways, let's go into the stage and check it out. So keep in mind is what we're going to be doing first and foremost is the stage preset is going to be set to Spiral Abyss 12.3 just to make it a little bit easier and not too complicated for us, to be honest, right? Detailed view, I'm going to show you guys all the attributes of the characters. You guys can see it on the left. I'll go through it slowly. Ganyu has 77% crit rate, 210% crit damage. She's on Wanderer's Trope with Skyward Harp. Don't know why it doesn't say it, but that's what I'm on with her. Unfortunately, I didn't get Almos's bow ever. I don't have Almos's bow. And Wanderer's Trope I felt was the best because of the EM and, of course, the fact that she's going to be melting characters usually. Venti is on Elegy for the end Elegy of the End, and also on Virtus and Veneer. 225% energy recharge is the main thing we're looking at. Need that ER, of course, right? Barbara, not on Maiden's Beloved. That's the set I used to run on this team, but Maiden's Beloved is primarily a healing set. And so I'm using a very different set for Barbara, but it's not going to actually help the team at all. So it's going to be exactly like it was back then, because the set I'm running her on is actually meant for Dendro teams. So you'll see her later on. Trust me, I was a fiend for using Barbara back in the day. And then you have Xiangling over here, of course. 86% crit rate, 124% crit damage. Very bad. But I don't use her. I've not used her since like year 2, basically. So hence why the really bad crit damage. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's see how this team fares. What I'm going to start off with, I think, is a little bit of this. Start off with Venti's shenanigans, get this underway, and then set that pyro off. Drop this down so that we can get some cool cryo melt going, and then we'll see how this goes. Can we get some good damage? I'm really hoping I can at least penetrate 20,000 damage. I'm not holding out any hope there, to be honest. Like I said, my DPS back then was used to really be bad. It used to be really disastrous. But that's just how I used to play. It was really bad. I would play very poorly. That's why I said I never got 36 stars when I started playing the game. But at the time, I don't think a lot of us did. You know, obviously there were players who were really good with what they did and what they had. Of course, they were playing phenomenally. You know, some people used to play like insane for what they used to have. But I wasn't one of them. I'll be honest and say that. Can I get ER? There we go. So that way I can do this. Set this off so that we can get some easy melts. And let's see. Can I get back up to 20,000? I don't think so. All right. Stop. All right. That was 60 seconds and it was 18,834. So I'm just going to write that down so that we remember it, to be honest, more so than anything else. So that was attempt number 1. I'm going to give it another attempt. I don't think it's going to change that drastically, but just to see if it'll work out, let's see. Let's see if something will happen different. Great. Otherwise, we'll probably keep it as that. I don't think it's going to change too much, to be honest. All right, we're going to just do this. I wanted to change it up a little bit just to see if this could help a little bit, having the burst afterwards. Man, charging up for Ganyu was so slow. I keep forgetting how bad it was. Come on, there we go. Good amount of damage there. Just do this so that we can get some easy swirls. And let's see if we can do this. Do this. Give me the... Come on. Oh, God. Why am I'm clicking the wrong freaking thing. Okay, there we go. Set this guy down and then see how much we can do here. Come on. How much is it going to be? I've got 10 seconds to get a little bit of a higher score. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. I think we're going to just about be the same. Yeah, it's just about the same. Really terrible performance. But I mean, if that's how it is, that's how it is. So the first attempt was actually the better attempt. So we're going to just rock with it and we'll move on to the next team now.
Vengeance will be mine. As a descendant of a fallen ancestry, I alone must break free from the chains of revenge. Shudder! Rack and ruin!
So the next team that we're going to be running, and the other team that I ran in version 1.6 was Fischl, Xingqiu, Diona, and Eula. Now, obviously, you might be like, Gil, really? Eula? In this day and age, you're going to be using her? But that's what I ran back in the day. And she was really good back in the day. Unfortunately, nowadays, not so much. Even though I really hoped with super conduct, you know, reducing physical resistance and everything, or stellar conduct, I should say, reducing physical resistance. I really hoped that would actually help her, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that did anything really, to be honest. You might be able to do a little bit better, but it's not like she's become like an insane unit, unfortunately, right? That being said, though, I am still looking forward to seeing how she performs here. This is Fischl. I'm running her with the golden trope set. Crit rate 42%, 134% crit damage. ER is 127%. Main look is in EM, which is unfortunately not represented here. Xingqiu, 39% crit rate, crit damage 148%. Energy recharge is 275%. Of course, we want that beautiful burst to get that consistent damage to go with the freeze and being able to deal more damage. Then we have Diona here, 21% crit rate, 99% crit damage. Main thing you want to look at is ER once again, 211% with some EM, of course, as well. I don't recall what she's on, to be honest. I'll admit and say that. I don't remember what Diona is on, frankly speaking. But it's not like a major set. I think it's an energy of Severed Fate. I think it's that set, basically, the energy recharge set. And Eula is, of course, on Pale Flame, 60% crit rate, 184% crit damage. Not a great piece of work. Unfortunately, I don't have her weapon. I'm running her on Serpent Spine as well, the weapon from the battle pass. So anyways, that's what we've got going for her. So without a further ado, let us see what's in store for us. The captain is here. Oh boy, let's start this off. All right, so we'll do this, set this off so that we can get this going, and then we'll just do this. All right, and then we'll do this. Do this, there we go. Tap. All right, I don't remember exactly how to use her, but let's see if this works. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you can see the DPS is already better comparatively there, which is amazing to say the least. And then we can do this again, boom, boom, set that down. Hopefully we can get some more attacks in before the timer ends. There we go. Come on. I need Diona to basically what Diona is a way to just recharge, basically a way to get like a little bit more from Eula to be able to get her burst up. So hopefully we can get her burst going. Come on. Come on, there we go. I don't think we're going to be able to get her burst off in 5 seconds. Come on. I could have played it a bit better. Okay, stop there. I went over 1 second, but that's fine. 21.754. It's not bad compared to what I was doing with Ganyu. Oh god, it's much better. But like, I do believe that I think I can do a little bit better with Eula. To be honest, I feel like there's a lot of performance still available there. I think there's still a lot of performance available still there. So we're going to go straight into it. I think I'm going to just do this, start this, go into this, and do this. Start this, and then go for the burst. Come on, there we go. Do this. Let's see how much damage we can get here. I feel like we can get a lot more damage here. Come on. Break. There we go. Nice. Come on, do this so that I can get the burst. I can get some more there for Eula. Alright, there we go. Do this so that I can get more particles. Whoops. Clicked the wrong thing. Man, I used to play so slowly with these characters. I didn't realize how slow these were. I didn't realize how slow these were, man. Come on, do this so that I can get some more particles. There we go. And now we can do this. Alright. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get some of this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get the this. Come on, burst, break. All right, 26,233, much better than what we had just a second ago. But I mean, still, it's not like it's a major improvement over what we just had with Ganyu and all. And to be honest, like I said, Ganyu's team was definitely a ragtag team. But like I said, this is just year one. Year one was where it all began. And as we go further and further into this video, we're going to see it just shoot up massively, right? You're going to see the performance scale drastically. So I think with that being said, we'll leave behind year one. Year one was great and all, and the scores have been set for them. Let's move on to year two and see what Inazuma had in store for us.
Take flight! Kamisato art! Sumetsu!
Okay, so this was the next team I used in version 2.8. Of course, Barbara, as expected, as I said, she was there since day one. She was still there until a long time after that as well. And then you have Kazuha, Shenhe, and Ayaka. Now, Kazuha, I managed to end up getting somewhere in between. Shenhe and Ayaka, I knew I wanted to get, especially because of Ayaka mainly. I really wanted her. So Shenhe had to come along, of course, for that mono freeze team. Now, let's get into it and we'll talk a little bit more about the characters themselves and what they're running. But, of course, Barbara, you already know, so I'm not going to detail her in any way, shape, or form. Kazuha, on the other hand, I will. 145% ER, 97% crit damage, a lot of EM. You guys can't see it. I'm running him on Iron Sting, if I'm not mistaken, as you can see by his weapon that he's running. Unfortunately, never got his own weapon, sadly, the Freedom Sworn weapon. Then you have Shenhe here, of course, who's running Noblesse Oblige. Unfortunately, low crit rate because she is running Favonius Lance. Again, a character I never got her own weapon for. But generally, Favonius is still a little bit better with the crit hits and everything you can get. It's really good. Wish I just had more crit rate on her. Been a struggle, to be honest. I've been trying to just get good pieces, but my luck's been down the drain recently. And then Ayaka with some really nice crit rate and crit damage. Crit rate, I'd say, is a little bit high. Obviously, with Blizzard Strayer and Cryo Resonance, it's too high. You get up to 93, 94% there. I feel like it's a little bit much. You can get away with 80%. And she has Miss Splitter Reforged, of course, as well. So, good overall set here. I got Miss Splitter actually afterwards. When we had our Eternal Banner, that's when I actually got it. But hey, it came in handy. It came in handy. That Eternal Banner being live allowed me to get that weapon. So, all's well that ends well. All's well that ends well. Anyways, let's kick things underway. Let's get things started. It's been a while since I've actually run this team, so I do apologize if I do make some blunders here and there. There we go. Do this, set this off, and then we'll do this, tap, and then go. Let's see how much damage we can get from Ayaka and Co. I want to hope that I can get a little bit more than 30k, to be honest. Hopefully, that's my hope here. But let's see. This is going to be very fascinating to see if we can actually do better or not. I'm kind of curious to see how my team will perform here. Come on, let's see. Come on. I'm gonna need Kazuha to help me out here massively with the ER and just generally also the EM. Come on, there we go. Set this off. There we go. Boom. Come on. How much seconds do we have? We have 10 seconds, I think. We have 10 seconds. I need to get rid of the display detail view. Get rid of the detail view. All right, let's see. How much can we do? Can we get above 30k? Ooh, we're just gonna be under it, I think. We're just under it. 29,507. Just a 3,000 DPS increase, but still not bad. Not bad at all, man. It's crazy how much it scaled up and how much better my team building became over time. And I was able to get more complete teams with me just spending more time on the game and a little bit of money as well, I'll admit, to be honest. But I just feel like it came with time more than anything, and it took me a long time to start getting really good teams going. It really did take me a long time, and I'll admit that was partially my fault. I was just trying to get like characters I really liked and not really focusing on stuff that was meta and stuff. And back then you could kind of get away with it. Nowadays it's obviously a little bit more difficult, but that's just how it is. That's just how it is. All right, let's just start with this. Let's continue on. All right, do this, do this, do this. Come on. Just slap down there. There we go. Come on. And use her ability. Come on. Ooh, good amount of damage there. Went about it the right way, of course. All right, there we go. Come on. Come on, we need to keep it up. Keep it up. There we go. All right. Come on, do this. Set this off. There we go. Come on, can I please get some, come on, give me some particles. Game, where's the particles? Game's just not wanting to give me particles. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. Wait, wrong character, shit. I blundered there so much. I think I could have gotten better there. I just fat-fingered and clicked Kazuha instead of Shenhe, but hey, rules are rules. I gave them 2 attempts. That's all they get. We're going to have to end it off on 29,507. I think if I had clicked on Shenhe, did the hold E, and then went into Ayaka, I would have probably gotten a better score. But alas, it is what it is. Let's move on to the next team from Inazuma.
Only through eternity are you closest to the heavenly principles. Lightning is eternal. The world is but shadow.
All right, so this is the next team we're going to be taking a look at. The second team from Inazuma and my personal favorite team. I think in all of Genshin, to be honest, I'd say generally speaking, like it felt like the most ragtag team, but the most fun team at the same time because it had a lot of my favorites, right? Raiden, Shogun, Yaimiko, Yelan, all characters I love. And so for me, this was an amazing team to build and a lot of fun to actually use as well. Now, Diana, we've already seen. We'll take a look at Yelan, Yaimiko, and Raiden Shogun as we go into the game. But Raiden Shogun, I remember back in the day when she first dropped, I remember so many people slandered her for how she was. I still think at C0, she's still a good unit, especially as a battery, if anything, right? Of course, high energy recharge to fit with her kit, 300% nearly, 76% crit rate, 118% crit damage, running engulfing lightning on her, of course. This weapon I only got after like a year and a bit, to be honest, right? I ended up only using catch for her. The catch was like my go-to weapon for her. Yaimiko, her weapon I had from the very beginning, Kagura's Verity. And of course, you can see crit rate 67%, 223% crit damage. I will admit that her and Diona being on the same team, especially Yaimiko is running Disenchantment, there may be a little bit of a problem there. Maybe it'll be a little bit too strong potentially, but we'll have to just wait and see. Yelan as well, one of my favorite units and my best pulls I had for her. I would say like my best summons came when I summoned for this unit. Got her first copy at like 60 pulls, then within the next multi, got her C1 and her weapon right after that as well. 65% crit rate, 256% crit damage, amazing luck with her artifacts as well. I'm running a two-piece on her, tenacity and noblesse. I personally find that much better. I get a little bit more performance out of it the way I play, but hey, to each their own. I know some people who run 4-piece noblesse or 4-piece tenacity, or not 4-piece tenacity, but something else 4-piece energy of the Severed Fate, the same one Raiden's running. But yeah, anyways, that's just how it is. I think everybody's going to have a different approach in regards to how they build Yelan. I know that's such a divisive thing in my personal opinion. I feel it's such a divisive thing. But anyways, let's see how this team does. That's what we're here to do. And let's get into it, shall we? Let's go. All right. I think the only thing I'd change in that rotation was the way I launched Yelan's ult first before Yaimiko. But anyways, let's see how much damage this team does. Woo! You're already seeing the damage. You're already seeing the damage go up. Beautiful stuff. There we go. Come on. Come on. Give me some particles there. Beautiful. Let's do this. Let's do this. Boom, boom, boom. And I can also... Actually, I just realized I can incorporate this one's ult without any issues at all. Now, back in the day, you'd have to be very careful because you'd have to be able to micromanage everything very particularly. But now, not so much. Not so much at all. You can see the DPS. It's already much, much higher. And I don't think I've seen a Stellar Conduct go off. So I think we're fine on that front. I was a bit worried that we might see it like affected the buffs, but I don't think we have. Only this Yaimiko's buff, which allows us to keep the totems active even after she bursts, is the main thing I would say. All right, I went over by 5 seconds. We'll still count it, but I will probably prioritize the next one we did. I was just all in thinking about it. I was like, sheesh, this is good. This is fun. I love this team, man. I really do love this team. 49,365. Such a big jump. Nearly 20,000 jump. Not even nearly. It's actually 20,000 jump compared to the previous team, which is insane. But that's just how it is. All right, so let's just do this. Boom, boom, boom. Set this up. Let the super conduct go. And then we can just launch the electrocharge shenanigans. And boom. All right, let's see how much damage we can get off now. Come on. A little bit better, I feel. A little bit better compared to before, which is exactly what we needed. All right, let's just do this. Boom, boom. Come on. Launch this. Set up the totems again. And I think we should be able to get the ult again. All right. I'm gonna need Yelan to give me her ult as well. There we go. Like I said, Yelan's... I never felt I had an issue with... That's why people run Emblem of Severed Fate on Yelan for her energy. But I think because I have her C1, it's not a problem for me personally. I really don't have as much of an issue with it as some people do. Alright, let's see here. I just want to make sure I don't overshoot the timer. But let's see. Come on. Alright, I'm gonna just launch this. And then we're gonna stop. 51,307 in 60 seconds this time. So nobody can say I overshot it there because it's my favorite team. There we go. Beautiful score. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And over 20,000 DPS increase within the same year itself. I will admit, I do think a lot of it is down to just generally personally with how, this team is a little bit more cohesively built. And you'll see that it just as time goes on as well, right? With the other units that we're going to bring into the field and everything, you're going to see that it's going to happen as well, where the teams generally will become a lot better, a bit more cohesive, a little bit stronger. And so that is going to make a huge difference. So without further ado, I think we'll move on straight into Sumeru and see what teams I built there. I told you all Barbara was gonna come back, and she is back. I think this is gonna be the final year we're gonna see her in a team, but she is in this team alongside Nilo, Kalei, and Nahida, making up the original Bloom team that I used to run way back when. A lot of you guys probably are wondering why Barbara and why not Kokomi. To be honest, I didn't get Kokomi until I think it was 3.8. Of course, the summer event, I think she was rerun then, but by the time the summer event came, I think I had finished off the Spiral Abyss and everything, and I didn't have time to build her as well as use her in the Spiral Abyss, hence why Barbara is still in the team. Nilo, of course, staple member of the Bloom team at the time. Kalei was the other Dendro option we had. It was between her or the Dendro MC. I kind of preferred Kalei a little bit more to Dendro MC, hence why she's in here. And then, of course, Nahida is as well. So, without further ado, let's see how the original Bloom team does. And it's actually going to be quite interesting to see because later on, there is going to be another Bloom team coming back. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two compare and, obviously see the difference and the jump between now and back then, of course, right? So, of course, Barbara, you already know what she's like. Of course, the set that I failed to mention at the start of this video was, of course, the fact that she's running the Dendro Bloom reaction set. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the purplish color set, basically. The purplish flower ones, that's the set that I'm running on her. I completely forget the name of that set every single time, but I know it's the Bloom set, basically, right? Then you have Nilo as well running the same exact set. Of course, no crit rate, no crit damage. Remember, this was when Bloom didn't have anything to do with that. It was all about HP, of course, right? As you see with how much HP Nilo has here. Kalei, all about energy recharge. Getting her burst back up online is very integral, of course, to keep that thing going, of course, right? And then Nahida, as per usual, is in the team, fully ready to go with a lot of EM. Trust me, there's a lot of EM on Nahida. I want to see, can I actually see the stats somewhere? Can I see the stats somewhere? I know there's supposedly a place to see all the stats, but I can't remember where it is on here. Can I maybe perchance see it? Is it in edit stats? It is in edits, but it doesn't still tell you what the EM is, unfortunately. I wish it did because it would kind of help me know how much EM it is, because I think with Nahida she's approaching like 9,000 EM if I'm not 9,000 1,000 EM if I'm not mistaken. If not, she is over 1,000 EM. But anyways, I think without further ado, let's get into it and let's see how much damage and this team can do, the Bloom team. Now, it's been a while since I've run this Bloom team, so apologies if it does seem a little bit like awkward to use, but I think we're gonna have some fun here. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to see how much bursts we get here. It's gonna be very interesting. I think this is the best thing to do. Let it just ignite from here. The damage pops are quite high, but I'm not feeling like we're getting as much damage as we should, to be honest. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Let me see. Let's do this. Boom. And then maybe trigger with Barbara. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not as good as what we were seeing from earlier on. But I think that, again, I think the earlier on, the one with Yelan, Raiden, Yaya, and Diona, I think that was a lot of it was to do with, of course, the fact that we were also running a buffed up, team there. But yeah, not the craziest amount here. Not the craziest amount. I will say that. Let's just dump this on, and then we can do this, and then try and ignite here. Like, you can see that there's some good amounts. I mean, back in the day, this would be like insane, to be honest. The amount of procs I'm seeing here with the amount of damage is not bad. Okay, I kind of went over the timer. I just wanted to see what this situation was. But only 33,000 to start off with, which is not a lot. It's better than Ayaka and Shenhe, but it's considerably lower than Yelan and Raiden. I'm actually curious to see what was it. Were these the numbers we were seeing back in the day? I can't remember. I generally can't remember for the life of me. All right, let's dump this, bring up Nahida's dome, do this, and then we can just start attacking like this. See what we can do here. I mean, the numbers are looking good. The numbers themselves are looking good. There's a lot of minor procs, but I think that's to do with, of course, the fact that, well, it's, the minor hits aren't intense enough, in that sense. All right, let's see how much we can do here. All right. This is the worst one. This is a worse run, 100%. I'm not feeling like we're getting as much out of it as we were before. Come on, let's just trigger this. There we go. Come on, do this. Set off some blooms. Come on, girls. I know y'all can do better than this. I stopped it a little bit early, but it wouldn't have made a difference. It's the point, like, a 1 second difference. 33,733 to start off with. I'm not very impressed, to be honest. I'm not very impressed. I thought it would be more. The strongest hit we got was 64.5. To be fair, back in the day, I feel like that was quite high. I remember, like, even people getting crazily excited at, like, 200k, 150k, and that was those really well optimized hits, as well as those much stronger units, of course, right? Where, with the way they were doing it and optimizing it with the perfect stats, substats, and everything. I am a little bit disappointed, though, considering I was expecting this team to actually nearly. I think because of Ye's buffs as well as Diona's, I was thinking maybe that Nahida and Co would have probably been at least like 45,000, maybe not beating it, but at least getting close to it. The fact that it's that far off is a little surprising to me, just a tiny bit. But anyways, that's this team. Let's move on to the next team, which is another Sumeru based team. Okay, so the next team we've got is surrounding Alhaitham. Yaimiko and Raiden Shogun come back once again, and of course this is all to create those aggravates basically. And then we have Yaoya, who was supposed to be the healer, but of course in this one we don't really need her necessarily, so she's just gonna be there as sort of like a elemental recharger effectively, a battery effectively. And then we of course have the main DPS himself, Alhaitham. Of course, back when he came out, I was so excited to use him. I still enjoyed using him, but I did feel like I was getting annoyed every single time because he just combusts into flames every so often. Because back then there was a lot of hydro-based enemies. So instead of triggering aggravate, he'd trigger bloom, and those bloom bombs would just basically blow him up, which would be very frustrating. But anyways, that aside, let's take a look at what is in store for us. So Yao Yao, of course, has a decent amount of energy recharge, 180%, hopefully should help Alhaitham quite a bit. And then for Alhaitham, we've got a good amount of crit rate and crit damage. This guy, I built him pretty well. I'd like to say I built him pretty well. I think Alhaitham is on Gilded Dreams and Yao Yao is on Deepwood Memories, if I'm not mistaken. So that covers the basis of basically the two units in terms of what they're supposed to do and how much damage they're hopefully going to do. So I think without a further ado, let's get into it. Now, should I actually no, we'll go into it. If I feel like they've not done a good enough performance, I'm gonna actually restart it, but I'm gonna give Yaimiko a completely brand new fresh set in a later in the later run, if that is supposedly the case. But anyways, let's see how this goes. Let's see how this pans out, because the main aim is to just see how much damage we can do here. So let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. All right, not bad damage. We can see that he's proccing quite a lot here. Do this. Come on. Come on. The one thing I hate about this is I can't tell anything when it comes to the what's it called? The particles for this one. All right, do this. Recharge there. Boom, get those particles. Yeah. Get an extra one. There we go. Not bad. Much better than Nahida's team, of course, clearly, as you guys can see here. Come on, there we go. Can I get another particle? All right, we've run out. There we go. Go back in. And you could intertwine it and interweave it with a little bit of this one's abilities as well if you want. Raiden's burst as well if you want. But I think it's much better to just solo it up with this. Okay. 37.585. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Considering the performance that Nahida did and whatnot, I'd like to say that's not actually too bad, to be honest. Again, I feel like these numbers are too low, but maybe it's because my expectations are now much higher. Frankly speaking, I never used to really care about the numbers, and frankly, I still don't, to be honest, for that too much. But I think it's because obviously now that I'm using it to actually just see how much of an improvement my artifacts are doing and seeing and comparing the artifacts, and with this system being so easily available, I've started looking at the numbers more as a result of that. And I think that's why I'm just a little bit like surprised more so than anything else, in all honesty. I'm going to just quickly abandon the challenge and we'll be right back in a moment with Yaimiko's new set. All right, we're back in, and I have changed Yaimiko's set to the golden trope set rather than the disenchantment set that I had on her. It lowers her crit rate a little bit, but we'll manage it. I think generally speaking though, that should help her a lot more when it comes to, of course, just generally her abilities. And in fact, I think with the Yelan team, she would have probably done better as well. But we'll leave that as is. I mean, it still did reasonably well with 51,000. And to be honest, I do think that was a little bit overinflated because of course, you know, the buffs and everything. But we'll use it here just to see how it changes things, if it does change things anyway. All right, let's just do this. I'm going to use Alhaitham's Q first. And then we'll do this. Let's see how this goes. All right. I want to see. So 3 stocks we have. Now it's 2 stocks. Okay. It's so hard to see. I wish there was a little bit of a better way to see how many stocks we had remaining. There we go. And I think it's about to finish off here. There we go. I've learned to figure out the timing a little bit of Alhaitham in a way, to be honest. It's not amazing timing, but it's gotten better. It has gotten better. There we go. Let's see how much we can do here. So not bad. We're doing pretty good damage. Actually, more damage than last time, I feel. All right, we got 1 stock. I forgot you could regain one stock. I could have done that earlier. All right, boom, 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 boom. Come on, stop. All right, we'll just use the burst and then we'll have to stop it. I think I stopped it there. Less damage, actually. Less. Bro, I stopped it with like 0.02 seconds to spare. That's crazy. But less damage overall. That didn't really change much. So it didn't affect my previous results either. Yaimiko's previous results didn't really seemingly would have gotten affected that much, at least in my opinion. I mean, 36,000. It's less than the 37,000 we had earlier on. Might have had worse rotations as well, to be fair. That can come into play, but it's not that significant of a change, to be honest. Clearly it's only a 1,000 DPS difference, but there you go. That's the year 3 teams done, all the Sumeru teams done. As you can see, very Dendro heavy. Of course, back then was the first time we really had a big change in the meta, of course, and it makes sense because it was a brand new reaction, and obviously they would start shilling new enemies and stuff like that. That would obviously be better when you had Dendro units on the field. That would be better defeated, or easily defeated, when you had Dendro units on the field, which makes sense that you see my two teams were all Dendro related. Now we'll move on to the next tier, which is of course Fontaine, and we'll see what teams I used there.
Vocal cords ready, blood sugar replenished. Let the show begin!
At the end of Fontaine, this was one of the teams I was using. Jean, Furina, Yelan, and Raiden Shogun. Now, Raiden Shogun, of course, is still a staple on this team. Of course, even after releasing back in, obviously, in Inazuma, because she's just that good. You know, being a battery and everything, she's still able to hold her own in this position. And I had her C2, which helped out massively. Jean was a brand new addition to everything, you know, in relation to obviously being a 1.0 unit, but still being in Fontaine because of how good she was as a healer in relation to Furina's abilities. And Furina, of course, basically the Archon of the region, right? Makes sense that she was going to be super powerful and probably a staple in everybody's team. But the support ability that she had and continues to have even to this day is amazing. Of course, from now onwards it might be a little bit less, but I think she's still a very, very solid option for a lot of people. Let's move in and check out what's in store for us when it comes to this damage. Now is the time I hope to start seeing the damage I was seeing from Yelan, Raiden, Ye, and Diona, which is the 50,000 pluses. That's what I'm really hoping to see from this team. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. Just quick rundown. Jean, I think, is running Viridescent, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure she is. Furina running Golden Trope. You can see the stats on the left-hand side as per usual. Yelan, we've gone over it already. Two-piece, Tenacity, and Noblesse. And Raiden is running Emblem of Severed Fate. All right, let's get into it. And let's kickstart things. Going off of detailed view into basic view. And let's start this. There we go. All right, boom. Do this. There we go. All right, boom, boom. And just use the bursts. And then let's go. How much damage will we do? Let's see. Looks like we're going to be doing a lot of damage. We're already looking very, very good. And of course, with Raiden's capabilities of course, providing us with a really good amount of DPS and whatnot, it's going to be really easy to just keep powering through. I mean, look it up. Look at it. The difference in DPS already is insane. All right. You can see the HP damage that's being inflicted as well, right? Like my HP was full and then now we're basically half of it effectively, which is crazy, you know? But we've got Jean on the field, so that will help us out massively. This is something that we had to do quite a lot back then, of course. Come on, give me my burst back with the Elan. There we go. And I can do one more burst attack with Raiden, which will give us a little bit of damage. And we can call it there. 66640. 66,640. We will absolutely take that. That is already a new high score for this for this test effectively. We will take it. I mean, this is where I think we started to notice a huge jump. Makes sense, to be honest. Furina was just that good. Honestly, I think it was that. It was just the scale of Furina was just that drastic. I mean, okay, if we ignore Yelan, Raiden, Ye, and Diona's score, and you look at just the other units, right, that's 100% increase in DPS, you know? Going from what was 33,000, 37,000 to 66,000 is ridiculous. It's crazy. We will do one more run just to see how it would fare. I don't think it's going to make a big difference, to be honest. Frankly speaking, I'm not going to notice anything big that way, but let's see. You never know. We could probably see a little bit of a difference in terms of just generally how much DPS we actually have here. Let's see. Let's have a look and see. You never know. We could probably see a bigger boost. Probably. All right, do this. Boom. Do that. Just do this. Reignite that. Give us a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Set up Furina's burst again. Do this. And let's see how much damage we can do here. it also depends on crits and stuff as well, to be fair, right? Crits can also make a big difference in terms of the DPS and stuff. I mean, you're seeing already, like, there's a little bit of a gap between what we were just having and what we ended up doing last time around. But let's see, can we get a bit higher? I'm curious to see if we can do a little bit higher. Come on. Come on, we've got a couple of seconds. I can probably do a little bit more here. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. 69,644. Again, a big 3,000 jump there. Yeah, I mean, like, I think genuinely this was when we started to notice a big jump in terms of pure performance, right? I remember because obviously we got Farina in 4.2, and that was really the first unit I ended up getting. I think I got Rio Risley right before we got Farina, and that was the only other Fontanian unit I got. But even then, Risley wasn't doing like a crazy amounts, and to be honest, I kind of just let it go because I knew Farina was coming up, and I had to just switch my plans into how I wanted to build my team for Farina. So it became a bit interesting on how that ended up panning out, but it just shows, like, you know, I was struggling in 4.0 and 4.1, and then this unit comes out, Farina, and then just blows the field apart. It was so easy afterwards to just do anything and everything. But anyways, let's take a look at the other team that came in Fontaine that was actually, I would say, insanely powerful as well. Of course, it had to be the Arlecchino team, and it is featuring Bennett for the very first time in this video. Bennett is a unit I just never used up until Fontaine, and it was primarily because of stubbornness, just seeing everybody use him and just how good he was and everything. I kind of was like, let me stay away from him. I'll use him when I want to, and to be honest, with Arlecchino's release and everything, I kind of had to bring him into the field. Along with Bennett and Arlecchino, it is Kazuha and Xingqiu. Of course, Yelan was too busy being on Farina's team, so Xingqiu was basically taking up her effective role in this situation. So it wasn't the best performance from Arlecchino on a regular basis, but I'd still think that she did a really decent job, to be quite honest, all things said and done. Bennett is being run on Noblesse, and Arlecchino is on the Bond of Life set. As you guys already know, the other two sets, Kazuha is on Veneer and Xingqiu is on Emblem, to just get that energy recharge. You can see on the left-hand side the stats. Even Bennett has a lot of ER, surprisingly. Kazuha, you can see there. Xingqiu, you already know. And then, of course, Arlecchino with that 69% crit rate, nice, and 234% crit damage. I will admit I'm not too fond of Arlecchino in terms of her rotations. I'll admit these pyro units are frustrating me to no end with how annoying their rotations are. This one and Mavica, honestly, very annoying characters. But let's see how we fare here. Do this, boom, boom. Come on, and let's do this, boom. Come on, and we can do this. Let's see how much damage we can get here. 96,000 there. Woo, good. Come on, how much rape can we get here? 40,000, not bad. Not as much as the Farina team, mind you. Not as much as the Farina team, but let's see how we can fare here. Come on, there we go. Boom. Come on, let's see how much damage we can do here. Come on, you gotta give me more. Come on, you gotta give me more, Arlecchino. You can't do me a similar performance to Alhaitham, girl. You gotta give me more. You gotta give me more. Come on, let's see how much damage we can do here. It's not looking great. It's not looking great. 38,604. I was looking for more. I'll admit, I was looking for more from Arlecchino. I wasn't expecting that low of performance. 38,604. That should have been way more. That should have been way more from Arlecchino. In all honesty, that should have been way more from Arlecchino. I felt like maybe my rotations weren't great. I could be wrong, but I feel like I did the right thing in terms of the WAPE. I mean, Arlecchino was getting a majority of the WAPE. You can see 24 times WAPE. Maybe I was executing it a bit wonkily. Maybe. I'm not sure. But anyways, let's try one more attempt. See if this works. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it might not work. Let's see. Who knows? Do this, and then we can do this. And then we can do this. Come on. Let's see how much WAPE can we get here. I tried doing something a little bit different there, but I don't know if that was the right thing to do, to be honest. I really don't know. Alright, let's just do this. Boom. Boom. Come on. Come on, thank you for the sack frags. And then boom, let's go. We're getting good damage out of it. I mean, but it's just not consistent damage. That's the only issue, right? That's the only problem we're seeing here, because we're not getting consistent enough damage. Come on, there we go, and then do this. Come on, let's see how much damage you can get. Also, some of the crit hits not being critical hits is also what's causing it. Barely any difference. It was exactly the same. Only 100 difference, give or take. 108, basically. 38,496 now, and before 38,604. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit disappointed in that, and I do think it's down to me. This one, I think, is down to me. I'm not too good with Arlecchino's combos, to be honest. I'm not really good with her strings, and I think that's the issue here, is I'm just not able to execute it like the way people should, to be honest, right? And I think there's also a case in which some people might say also I'm not using the right team for her, which is also fair as well. But I think we're gonna have to just take that on the chin. This was the team I used. I know that Arlecchino right now is pretty darn good, of course, right? With especially if you're running Hexrai rights, buffed up Arlecchino as well. I've been told that that's really, really good as well. So if you're running something like that with Nicole and Fischl and stuff like that, probably you're getting way more out of it than I am, for example, right? But anyways, let's, I think, move on to the next tier, and let's move into Natlan, where, of course, I think a lot of people would say is where the real power creep crept in. Y'all already know what time it was when I said we're going into Natlan. It's Shilonen, Citlali, Bennett, and Mawika for team number 1. And I mean, come on, you guys didn't expect anything different, right? You guys already have seen my videos where I've used Mawika as well. So you shouldn't be surprised that I'm going to be bringing her into this video as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind is there's a lot of like really good strings when it comes to Mawika, some very complicated strings. However, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to spin to win, to be quite honest, because that's what I normally do in a gaming session of Genshin Impact, to be honest. Whenever I go into IT or Spiral Abyss or anything of that sort, just because of, just to get through it and, waste little time. And it does waste little time rather than complicating with all the strings. I just spin to win, and that gets the job done. Obviously, for the artifact sets, of course, with Shilonen, you have the support set from Natlan. Citlali, same thing, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Bennett, Noblesse, and Mawika is running the DPS Night Flame set, if I'm not mistaken. Good percentages, I would say. I wish I had a little bit more crit rate. Personally, for me, I think 70% is the bare minimum. So I would prefer generally being at like 75, 80, around that for crit rate. But this is what I got from Mawika, and so be it. That's just what we're gonna have to deal with, of course, right? I think obviously we're gonna hit into probably the 100s here, maybe 90s, because I'm gonna be doing spin to win. I expect us to get into the 90s at least, minimum. So let's see. I mean, yeah, it's just ridiculous, man. It's just crazy how just all of a sudden, you go from like what we had earlier on to 120,000, man. It's just ridiculous. It's just stupid. It's honestly ridiculous. I just don't know what to say to this, to be honest. Every time I see it, every time, it's just like, seriously. Obviously, we're down to 105 from 120, but that's just because, like I said, I'm doing spin to win, which is obviously reducing my DPS compared to what it would normally be. But we can get that back in just 1 second. 1 second. Give me just 1 second. We're just gonna get that back in like 2 seconds. There we go. Yeah, it's just ridiculous, man. The other crazy part is how common the output is, you know? It's just so often, just like that, 119,989. I mean, we said it. The thing is, right? People will say, like, you know, it was 100% earlier as well, Gale, right? And I will say, yeah, it was also 100% difference earlier on between the Farina team and, let's say, Nahira, Kalei, and Co, right? But that was only a 30,000 gap. This is going from 60 plus thousand, 65,000 to 120,000. I'd say that's a lot more of a jump than the earlier one. Like, it's crazy. It is insane how much of a difference this is, you know? It's crazy. I'm gonna change it up here a little bit. I'm doing this first. It shouldn't make a big difference, I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, we're still just going crazy with the boosts as well. Like, it's just unbelievable, man. It's just insane how much of a boost it is, to be honest. Do this so that we can get the burst early up. There we go. And then I can spin to win later on more often to just get more damage as well later on. There we go. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do cancels and stuff with Mawika. I just don't. I'm not able to do it to the same level as some other people can. So I just avoid doing it personally more often than not. Well, I can do it. It's not about can't do it, but I just avoid doing it because I feel more comfortable just doing it the regular way. Oh God. Okay, this was a bit of a worse one. 105,000. We'll leave it as is. I mean, we got 119,000 earlier on. I think we can run with that rather than 105,000. I ended it a little bit early as well there. Yeah, it's just insane. This is where Powercreep really started to show, of course, right? And a lot of people were frustrated when Natlan's release happened and we had this behemoth of a unit release, right? Insane, absolutely insane. It's not to say that you can't do it with some other characters as well. Like I said, you know, thanks to obviously Genshin's buffs and everything, it's gotten a lot better, but there is still that. But anyways, let's move on to the next team from Natlan.
You endure. You evolve.
Well, when I say Natlan, not technically Natlan, because half of the team is from Fontaine, one is from Liyue, and one is not even from Teyvat. It's, of course, the Skirk Escoffier Freeze team. Now, this one is a team that actually got actually, a lot of people started to talk about this team in particular, and this is where things started when it came to the discussion of how Genshin was approaching their characters, right? With releasing a support and then the main DPS, and you had to get both of them. I think this is where it really started, of course, right? For me personally, I think it's natural to obviously question that and question how they do it and why they do it. At the end of the day, it's always about trying to get people to summon, right? That's the why. Let's be real. Every gacha game does this, where you release a big shiny new unit, but you need something else as well, another shiny new unit to go along with it and to really make it pop. And that's what this is basically, right? Obviously, this is a team that I actually really adored because it kind of brought back that old school Freeze team from way back when with Ayaka and Shenna, and actually even brought Ayaka and Shenna back in a way with the Escoffier being so good. And then, of course, having Farina as well helped out massively because of all the support that she would give. So it was a very fun team to use, and it also, like I said, brought back a lot of old units, got them back to a much better place, to be honest, right? They're still not obviously the upper echelons, but if you have them, you can still use them with the likes of Escoffier and stuff, which I think is bloody brilliant. But yeah, Farina is the set you guys already know, Golden Trope. Escoffier is running the free set, of course, right? The one that came out with Escoffier itself, I think it was. Yelan, two piece, and then Skirk as well, running the similar set. 60% crit rate to 24% damage, not bad. I would say, again, just wish crit rate was a little bit higher. That's the only thing I would say. Anyways, let's get into it and let's see how much damage these girls can do compared to the other teams. All right, let's see. Come on. I'm curious to see how this will fare. I'm very curious to see how we're gonna fare here. All right, boom. Come on, let's see how much damage we can do here. Do this. Let's see. Yeah, you can see the DPS, right? Come on, give me some more time. Give me some more time. Jesus Christ. Hang on a second. I should be running this team. Come on, give me oh, there's the Q. I was just waiting for the Q to come back up, and I was like waiting for it. There we go. Come on. Come on, let's see how much damage we can do here. We're online for a long time here. All right, there we go. All right, we're gonna probably wrap up before the end here. Come on, I'm just gonna go in and deal some more damage in this state. Very close, very, very close to the Mawika team. 118,261. And I feel like I could have done a little bit better there with the way I was timing a couple of the things, right? Like, I switched to Skirk immediately when I saw Yelan's burst just going live. I should have waited for that extra second, would have saved me a second or two there, basically. Farina's burst as well, I could have activated it for Skirk's second, string of attacks, basically, right? Couple of things that we can refine there, but let's see how we fare. But that was really good. Again, just shows how much the power is increasing. You know, like these two teams immediately just wipe away with everything that came right before it. It's insane. It is ridiculous what these two teams were capable of doing when they first dropped. But anyways, let's see how we fare when we do a much cleaner run, if I can. I didn't need to do that. That was a bit unnecessary. I'm just doing this to get some energy back as well. I should probably... I have an idea, actually, for that. I have an idea for that, but I'll talk about it later on. First and foremost, let's just do this so that we can do this. Do this. Come on. Let's see how much damage we can get out before we go back into our normal form. That's fine. Do this. All right. Boom. Boom. All right, come on. Give me this. Boom. Go into Farina's burst. There we go. And now we can get some more damage out of her. There we go. Come on. Let's see how much we can really get from her. I think Skirk is about to do a lot more here. All right, there we go. Last bit. Let's just try and get some little bit of damage what we can, to be honest. It's not going to be too much, but... we'll take it. 129,000 higher than Mawika's team. Crazy. Absolutely nuts. Again, a little bit more refinement there. Could have been a bit better, but not going to really complain about what is a 10,000 boost over Mawika's team. Insane. Absolutely insane. Again, just shows how much of a jump there is between the teams, man. And this team, for what is just a regular freeze team, it's not doing anything exceptional. It doesn't require you. It doesn't demand you to know a lot of different strings. All you need to do is Farina E, Farina Q, Escoffier E, Yelan Q into maybe 2 E's. That's what I was thinking of doing, but I messed it up a little bit. Into 2 E's just to get that energy coming back to you, the energy particles coming back to you. And then you go into Skirk and just tap E and then just dish out normal attacks, right? Just dish out a ton of normal attacks. Insane team. Insane team. And that wraps up Natlan for this section of the video. We'll move into the final year. This year, what did we end up getting that caused a lot of people to get frustrated? And where will it what trajectory will it show us as we go into Snezhnaya as well? Let's move on to Nordcry. right, we are going into Nordcry with the first team being the Lunar Bloom team. Now, this is the reason why I was so curious to see what the Bloom team would score, because we can directly compare how much of a jump Bloom itself has, the Bloom reaction has had from when it came out in Sumeru to now with Nordcry's release of Lauma, Nefer, and Columbina. Cookie Shinobu is in there for being the healer role, of course. That's what I use her for. Obviously, doesn't make a big difference in this situation necessarily, but what we're looking at is just generally how much of a performance boost these girls will be able to provide to us when it comes to just the Bloom reaction. I'm very interested in this. I'm expecting about a 90,000 jump. Easily 90,000 jump. With how much performance I see from these girls on a regular basis, 100%, 110%. Lama's attributes you can see right there. She is running the I can't remember the name of the sets, man. I really hate when I can't remember the name of the set. But she's running the support set for lunar reactions. Very high EM, of course, right? Columbina, similar as well. 76% crit rate, 231% crit damage. Very, very nice. Cookie Shinobu is running just an average set as well. Emblem, I think she's running. I've given her an emblem, if I'm not mistaken, for a little bit of energy recharge. And then you have Nefer with the DPS set as well. 70% crit rate and 285% crit damage. Of course, with Lunar Bloom, you can do crit hits. You can do crit hits. So that makes a big difference. All right, so let's just do this. Let's get things underway, shall we? Let's not dilly-dally any longer. I'm gonna just get into it and just absolutely smash this girl into pieces. Now, with the Nefer, you can do animation cancels, which you guys can see here. I am able to do a little bit. Not too much performance up there, but let's see. Maybe I will be able to do a little bit more when I do this. There we go. 111,000. I said what? 90,000? Not as much as I thought it was gonna be, to be honest. There we go. Let's do this. Come on. Maybe actually. Wait, hold on a second. Maybe 90,000 is gonna be reality. Come on, let's see how much damage we can do here. Oh. I'm slowing down. I'm slowing down big time. Let's just burst with Columbina and stop it there. 123,000. Hold on a second. Wait. The score for Bloom was 33,733, 123,744. That is 90,000. That is the difference of 90,000 and 11. That is insane. I wasn't expecting to be that close to the mark. I said 90,000 as a bit of a, okay, it should be around 120-ish thousand DPS. I'm gonna say 90,000. The fact that I was off by 11 is crazy. But anyways, let's do another attempt, and I want to see if I can maybe do a little bit better with my rotations. So I'm going for a hold Llama E, because the moon symbols and everything, the moon sign symbols is not a real problem, especially with Columbina on the team. So it is fine in that sense. The question is just about doing the animation cancels and restoring this one's moon sign a little bit as well, if I can, just in time. There we go. Come on. Just keep doing this, and do this. Get Lauma back on so that we can get her support back in. Get Columbina back in. We're dropping DPS like nobody's business. And let's do this. Come on. Come on. Thank God for these animation cancels, man. They're so good. They're insanely useful, man. They're insanely useful. All right, let's see how much we can do here. If I just switched earlier. Boom. 127,138. So we did get a bit of a boost there. Obviously, no longer the 90,000 that I said, but I'm still surprised I was that close on my first attempt to just get it dead on the difference. But it's a much bigger difference. And again, I think it's just a couple of things, right? Artifacts are a lot better. These reactions are just insanely strong, right? they bring out these reactions as sort of like a enhanced version, right? And it makes sense. They want to sell, they want to get, new power in. Makes sense. They want to make the reactions better. This is the best way. They're not going to buff the old reactions, right? Unfortunately, that's not something they're going to do, unfortunately, right? It's not like back in the day when everybody was mad about Li and they decided to buff Geo as well. That's not gonna happen, I don't think, anymore. As much as I would like it to happen, right? I feel like there are certain elements that could get improvements in some ways through either resonance or whatever it may be, reactions. But I think we're gonna have to accept that they're gonna go down this direction of new reactions. And speaking of new reactions, let's take a look at the next team in store for us and the final team of this video.
Weather. Overcast. Tested Faggio in the field.
Okay, so the final team, as you would have expected, is the Stellar Conduct team featuring Sandrone, Sucrose, Chi-Chi, and Yaimiko. Of course, Chi-Chi, after her disappointing performances since the release of this game, has managed to go from basically what was F tier to straight S tier. What a unit, what a comeback. Of course, the buffs massively helped her, and this new reaction has done the same as well for Yaimiko. And I've given her back her disenchantment set. Of course, earlier on we gave her Golden Trope. Chi-Chi is on Tenacity of Millilith, Sucrose on Viridescent Veneer, and Sandrone is of course also on Disenchantment. Now, to be honest, this is something I was a little bit worried about going into when obviously Sandrone first released Stellar Conduct. Is it going to be like crazy strong and stuff like that? Obviously, we're just at the very beginning, but I do think they've approached this a little bit better already, because you have the likes of Cryo Traveler, who's obviously able to ignite stellar reactions, so he's going to be a free option. You also have these buffed up old units like Yaimiko and Chi-Chi, who obviously for players who've been playing since day one probably have both of these units either via reruns or from obviously losing 50-50s in the case of Chi-Chi. So in my opinion, it's not like the end of the world in that sort of situation, but I do understand that if you're a new players still, like, the gap is still insanely high, so there is that factor. But let's see what they do in terms of a performance. Now this is going to be where things get very interesting, obviously, right? I'm very, very excited to see how these two will perform. All right, let's see. Come on, how much damage are we gonna get here? Not that much, to be honest. Not that much. I know this is a team that likes to build up over time, or rather than just immediately come out guns blazing in terms of performance. I've noticed that it just builds up its DPS over time rather than anything else. But let's see. Come on. Come on. Give me another burst. There we go. 114. There we go. Like I said, it builds up. Initially, it doesn't seem too high, but it is very good. It is very good. There we go. Come on. I'm not going to be able to get another burst in, but we'll wrap up around 113,000. Not bad. Not bad. Now, remember, actually, if I was running Escoffier instead of Sucrose, I'd do better. And I probably would be doing way, way better. But honestly, I'm okay with running Sucrose because that's what I'm actually running right now. Part of the reason is obviously I'm saving this team in terms of for Stygian and stuff. Of course, if I am using the Skirk team, then Escoffier needs to be on that team. She can't be on Sandrone's team. And also with future releases as we go on, I think Odette is going to be the perfect case here. Odette is going to be somebody who probably will take Sucrose's spot on this team, actually, to be honest, right? So realistically, Sucrose is just a bit of a empty spot right now. She definitely helps, right, with the shreds and stuff. Obviously helps, but she's not like a primary role right now. She's like the fourth option in this team that can be a variety of units and characters to just help a little bit.
Anyways, let's see how we fare right now. Let's do another run of this fight and see what we can score now. All right, let's see here. Come on, give me the good. Give me some better performances here, guys. Come on now, give me some more crits and stuff like that. Let's pop it off. Come on. There we go. Boom. Do this. Get some Favonius hits as well. Remember, I forgot to mention that Chi-Chi is on Favonius, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, Sandrone is on her own weapon as well, just to give you guys a little bit of a note there, of course, right? Let's see. Can I get my burst before these totems go? I think we can. There we go. Lovely stuff. All right, let's see. Come on. Can I get a little bit higher in terms of my damage? Come on. What I'm hoping is I can get my burst back. Actually, that would be very nice. If I can get my burst before the 60 seconds wrap up, that'll be amazing. I don't think I will be able to, though. Unfortunately not. No, I wasn't. 115,000 though. Not bad, not bad. So surprisingly, out of all of this, Skirk's team was actually the best performing one. 129,000. Now, I will say this. Again, I've seen people hit like 130, 140 with Sandrone's team, especially if, like I said, you run like the likes of Nicole or Escoffier, these much better supports, right, in the place of Sucrose, especially specifically for Sandrone. However, this is my own performances. This is my own testing. This is my own personal approach, right? And I will admit as well, you know, if I go back and check out my Sandrone gameplay video I uploaded a few weeks ago, I think I did hit 130 once with this very specific team. Maybe again, rotations and stuff like that can come into play. Maybe I'm not doing something that I did back then, forgetting about it entirely here. But that's the lowdown as of this moment. I'm gonna put up the scoreboard right now so you guys can see where everybody ranks and of course the percentage jump between each team since the very beginning of the game.
Now you might be asking the question, Gail, what was the point of all of this, right? It's not like it was going to be any different, right? These results were what we expected, albeit you guys might question that last performance a little bit. That's on me, I will admit. I'll put my hands up and say that's just the skill issue on my end. But for me, the purpose of this video, right, was two things. One was for my own personal enjoyment in terms of just looking at big numbers and comparing them, right? I'm not somebody who's going to sit here and say that, oh, you have X amount of DPS, that's bad. I don't really care about that. What I do care about is just like, I like to see the numbers change and I like to see bigger numbers. And we see bigger numbers as we're progressing through the game. And now recently we've been seeing like insane amounts of numbers, right? You saw with Malvika, I was able to do a 1 million burst hit, right? Which was insane to see. When she first launched, I was like, what? Are we serious here? And I had to get her because of that. I had to get her because of how good that was and how much fun that is, right? And on the other side, for me, it's also a case of just seeing my own time and investment change over time, right? Back in the day, what we used to see with Ganyu and what we used to see with Eula and so on and so forth, that was the pinnacle. That was absolutely it. You know, that was the performance of a lifetime. And now that would basically struggle you to get out of even floor 11, I would say, right? So personally, for me, just seeing that, you kind of feel a little bit sad and disappointed, you know, because if you look at the numbers, right, I'll pull up the numbers again on my end, right, and I'll tell you, like, we were at 30-ish thousand for a good 2 years, right? My Eula team did 26,000. Then year 2, I had the Ayaka Shenhe team do 30,000. I'm gonna ignore the Yelan Raiden Ye team because I feel like that was a little bit skewed because of obviously the buffs and everything. I think that would have been around 35,000, 40,000 back then. Nahira 33,000, Alhaitam 37,000. You're basically hovering around that 30,000, 40,000 range. It was increasing. You could tell that there was that gradual increase of maybe 10,000, 5,000, somewhere around there, basically over the span of 3 years, right? And then you come to year 4 with Fontaine, and then you have Furina, Yelan, Raid, and Jean, none of whom have been buffed, by the way. 70,000. Arlecchino was back to a little bit of normality with the 40,000, but again, I feel like that's on me for not performing well with her. I think even back then she would perform around the likes of Furina and stuff, 50 to 60,000 if you did it right. But then you move into Natlan, 120, 130,000, and Nordcry, similar situation. So obviously there is power creep, and you've seen the percentages, you've seen the jumps. I just feel a little bit sad that, like I said, we don't get that gradual increase anymore. It's these big incrementals, right? Thankfully, between year 5 and year 6, there wasn't as big of a jump. Of course, what there was more of was you needed specific teams for specific situations, because before you could probably just powerhouse your way through, and that's fine, and as long as that was there, that was okay. But now it's a lot more dependent on what reactions you have, what enemies are you facing to be able to counter those enemies. I know for a fact during IT there's a lot of times where I struggle because I've just taken the wrong team, and I have to be like, frick, I have to rewind to get that unit back into the squad because I need it for the round afterwards. I didn't pay attention to what was coming afterwards because I don't really look into all of that. So I have to do a couple of rewinds to just keep into that. It just gets a bit annoying in that sense, right? So for me, while I understand power creep is a necessity in any live service game, especially a gacha game, right? I think it would have been nice if they had just kept it gradual more than this insane jumps, to be honest, right? Because I think it would have at least been fine in that situation. And more than that, actually, I would say is I wish there was a little bit less of these elemental reaction based enemies. Why not do elemental reaction like puzzles or something, man? That would be a lot more exciting and interesting for me, at least. For me, it feels like these are just enemies that you're putting in place so that you can sell the units, which is fair. That's fair. I think a lot of gacha games do that, but it feels like we're going from the first 3 years to now where this big changes happen. Obviously, I still love Genshin, don't get me wrong, when it comes to the exploration, the story, and everything of that sort. I will say that still. But when it comes to these combat set of things, this power creep situation, I can't disagree that it is bad. It's not horrible. I've seen, like, even within Hoyo, I've seen worse, but I feel like this is definitely right now a bad point we're at when it comes to these units. And I'm dreading to think, like, okay, I have the Sandrone team, which is already hitting 115, and I know with potentially a slightly better unit, I could probably do 120, 130 even. Odette is coming into the next patch, right? And Odette is gonna probably be even better than all these other supports that are currently in the game. That is going to be another like 20-30,000 team DPS increase, which is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. So when will it stop is the real question. Probably not until the game dies, but that's ways away probably, considering they keep saying they're around for 20 years. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm curious to see what you all have to say. Hopefully you enjoyed this little bit of a fun, goofy video where, I just went over all the years of my teams. And hopefully you guys had fun watching me use all my old teams as well. Again, like I said, I wasn't the greatest team builder back then. I'm still not, I would say. But I have fun. That's all that matters, right? At the end of the day, if you have fun, that's all that matters. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.